Hey, hello there, and welcome to Talking with Tony. If you're just tuning in, and no, he's not actually a model, although he looks very dapper today in his vest, and he's sitting there in front of his favorite, one of his favorite golf courses. But we welcome back Kevin White is my guest today here on Talking with Tony. Red, how are you today?
Doing well, Tony.
Tell us about that background, about that spot that you got there.
Well, I'm reusing it from the last time me and Danny were on here. This is a background you can see kind of behind my head. That's the Sydney to Lanier Bridge going over the Intercoastal Waterway here between Brunswick and St. Simons. And that's Sea Island, seaside golf course where they have the McGladrey Classic. Used to be called the McGladrey. Now the sponsor is the RSM. Okay, and they were that tournament was getting ready to play the last time me and Danny were on. You know.
Yeah, I met Brian Harmon down there one time at that golf course, and he former UGA great.
Mhm.
He's obviously had success on the professional tour too. I believe he won. Did he win the British Open? I think he won a major. Awesome.
Yeah.
But a lot of golfers live in that area. And back in the bad old days when I worked for the newspaper in Noonan, one of the things I did enjoy were going to follow local golfers in tournaments, and that included the ladies that played in the Georgia amateur tournaments, the men, the young, the high school golf teams. I did it all. We would go to Glen Academy was always the host down in St. Simons for the
Hmm.
state golf tournament, and I would go down there to Jekyll Island for the golf tournament there. But I have been to that course to cover elite. They would have elite Georgia GSA, the Georgia State Golf Association tournaments there. It's
Right.
outstanding. It's an outstanding course, and of course now, like you said, it's part of the PGA Tour. You ever? I guess like a Davis Love is probably the most prominent person that would probably be a member over there.
Yeah. Well, Davis Love's the one that started this tournament.
Yeah.
Here locally, it was him and a group of other people, but he was the big name that started it. But you have him. He's from St. Simons, of course. And then we have Matt Kuchar. He was on the
Mhm.
island for a while, former Georgia Tech golfer.
What about
Um,
Patton Kazari, who played at Auburn? And I believe he's down there somewhere, I believe.
Yeah, I haven't heard that name. So I
Okay.
don't know, but there's quite a few. Jonathan Bird.
Uh-huh.
Um, you got Zach Johnson. He lives on St. Simons as well. There's quite a few of them. That
Yeah.
call that place this. It's an unreal practice facility over there. It compares with all the guys down in Jupiter. That's for sure. You
Oh,
know.
yeah. And that you know that in itself it says a lot because of all the names that are involved in Jupiter. Red, we're going to pick the conference championship games today, but I got to tell you, as and you love the Falcons, and I'm a Falcons fan also. I kind of have this look of chagrin on my face today because the Falcons really came on at the end of the season, and there were so many games in that first portion of the season that they could have won, they should have won. They lost late, and if they pick up just one of those wins, they don't lose this crazy tiebreaker, and they're in the playoffs, and they're hosting a playoff game, and they're division champs. I feel like the Falcons should have won the division the last 2 years, and they haven't been able to do it. And the sad thing is, they were playing really good football at the end of the year. That Thursday night victory at Tampa Bay was extremely impressive to me when it looked like their season was already over, yet they found a way to, you know, go deep into the bag and pull out a couple of tricks and pull out the victory. But I know you love the Falcons, so you're frustrated, but I guess maybe encouraged somewhat at the way the year ended.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like they played their hearts out. They didn't quit, where they could have easily given up and just like this season's over. Let's get some other guys experience, that type of thing. But at the end of the day, I've become accustomed to what goes on with the Falcons, and that's what I've been reading stuff here lately with their new coaching hire and all this, and people are really optimistic and this and that. And I just still I got to stick to my guns. I mean, I feel like Arthur Blank is like the new Jerry Jones. He's not spending the money that Jones did, but I think he's just too involved.
Hmm.
Instead of letting his staff that he's hired do their job. stops, and if he'll just back off and let the coaches coach, let the general manager do his job, I think they'll do a lot better, and so I'm optimistic. I think this new coach has got a decent resume, you know.
Stefanski, I think he's a great coach. Twice he's been the NFL's Coach of the Year, and he'll have even more as far as players go, assets than he has had with Cleveland. I mean, there is some real talent on that Falcons roster. I do want to ask you: was this the right thing to do? Do you agree with the fire? Do you look at the whole body of work and specifically this season, or do you think the win streak at the end of the year maybe should have given him another season? What is your feelings on this?
I don't know. I don't know that firing him was the right thing. When it first happened, I kind of felt like that it was he was doomed from the start, just with all the inner workings in the organization. Where I feel like that's been the case with the past few coaches at the Falcons. That they've had some good names there and good quality coaching, and they're just not allowed to do what they need to do. This, I think, Arthur Blank there again has just got his hands on it too much. He needs to back off, be an owner, sit up there in the box and enjoy the game, and let those guys do their job.
I
And so I
think
kind of felt like he got a raw end of the deal there, but
I
he'll find.
am.
I think he'll find the landing spot.
Oh, I think Rasheed Morris is the Packers are very interested in him for defensive coordinator. I don't know if they'll, both sides will agree on years and money and all that, but I think that's a possibility to look at. I got to tell you this though, I don't like how he did, and I've said this earlier before the season even started. I don't like how he coached in the preseason and didn't play these players. I realize these games don't count, and I'm not asking you to play 4 quarters. But these top players didn't play in nearly enough in preseason games. I mean, put them out there at least for a quarter, a game and get them some work and get them in the rhythm of like big game, regular situations. Not don't count on them to figure that out once September themselves. I mean, there are 3 games I can think of right off the top of my head Atlanta could have won. And if they win that Tampa game at home that they lost in the final seconds. We're not even talking about a tiebreaker at all because you'd been
Mhm.
2 games clear of Tampa.
Yeah, and they win the division.
Yeah.
Right. And I
Yep.
mean, there was 4 games that I can think of that were really close like that. And like you said, and they win 2 or 3 of those, and it's just there's no question. Now what they do with it in the postseason is we'll yet to see, right? But
Right.
but there again, was that the coach's decision not to play him, or is that all the
All the above,
the
maybe, right?
agents and the general managers and all that behind the scenes and them arguing and bickering and like, no, you're not paying me to play these games, blah, blah, blah. I'm not playing all that kind of jazz. Does the coach really have the power to say, oh, yes, you are. You're playing the first quarter, right? Or was it something else? We don't know all that, you know?
That's a and that's a very fair point that you're making too. We don't we're not privy to those kind of conversations is basically, what we can say about that.
That's right.
Um, I tell you, I'm really excited to pick these conference championship games with you. I will go ahead. I'm going to throw out one. I think it's Sunday, an English Premier League soccer game. I'm 5-5, nothing to write home about this year with the picking of the soccer, but I'll go with over 2.5 goals with Newcastle United and Aston Villa. That'll be my only soccer play. We're going to try to get over 500 before this we wrap up this. And folks, just because the football season's winding down, this is not the end of seeing people like Kevin and Danny and all and talking with Tony. Once March Madness brackets are out, we'll have everybody pick a Final Four, and we're also going to have everybody pick someone to win the Masters. So you're not through in the U.S. Open and things like that. These guys will continue coming back. I know that people enjoy your insights, Kevin. I certainly do. Now, where you haven't probably had the kind of season overall that you would like to have, I do want to point out that you're 8-10 and 5 stars, which is really not that bad. 14 games under 500. But here's the goal. you can now finish 3-0 here as we wrap up. You can hit these two conference championship games and Super Bowl, and you can do what the Falcons did. You can finish the season on a high note. I know the first game up on the books is the Patriots and the Broncos, but since most everyone has their five-star in that selection, I'm going to start with the Rams and the Seahawks. There's only one five-star pick here. The Seahawks are favored by 3 in the NFC Championship game. And John, who's 10 and 8 and 5 stars this year and 85 and 87, he's going to go with the Seahawks -3 as his 5 star. Now, there is an interesting competition going on here for the overall lead. Fred is coming off a 5-0 week. Fred has vaulted to the lead at 87 and 85 over Danny by 1 game. Danny is 86 and 86, but John is 85 and 87, so he's 2 back as well. Stormy is coming off an 0 and 5 week. He didn't win a game. He went 0 and 5, and he's with Kevin at 79 and 93. So what you want to do, Kevin, is you want to finish ahead of Stormy. And as I look down, y'all do have a one different pick, and it's in this game. But there is one 5-star selection in this game, and that's the Rams and the Seahawks. Real quick, and it's hard not to brag about myself, but I have gotten 8 games over 500. I am 36 and 28 and 12 and 6 for the 5 stars, and my 5 stars in the in my only selection this week is in the AFC Championship game. So John is the only one that does the Seahawks -3 as his 5 star, but I will tell you, everybody is on the same side he is on, except for Stormy, who's on the Rams +3. Kevin has got the Seahawks -3, and just hearing that, Kevin, has probably got you feeling better about your selection that Stormy is on the Rams.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing there. I mean, I'm a Stafford guy. Of course, he was a Bulldog. I like his receiving core. Nakua and those guys. I mean, I think he's got a great cast around him. But you watch the Seahawks, man, and he's got a tough road ahead of him. I mean, I would love for the Rams to win this thing. Beat them, but how many weeks now has Seahawks been picked as the favorite to win the Super Bowl? And I mean they looked the part last week against the Niners. That a depleted team, a lot of the injuries they've had with the Niners and all that jazz. But I picked the Niners last week because I felt like they would have kept it close to the way they've been playing. And the Seahawks just came out and absolutely destroyed them,
Yeah.
and so it's hard to pick against them. My heart, my gut, I would love to see Stafford win it. I'd love nothing better than to see Rams Broncos in the Super Bowl, but I just don't see it.
For the Rams to win 3 games on the road like this, and teams have done it before to get to the Super Bowl. The New England Patriots I believe, were the first one to do it. They made that Super Bowl against the Bears. Now, the Super Bowl didn't work out for them, and they were a wild card team, but they won 3 games on the road. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, they lost like 18 in a row or something to Miami in Miami when they beat them in the AFC Championship game to get to that Super Bowl. It's so hard to do what the Rams are trying to do. And they barely escaped Carolina, but they did with a victory. They barely escaped Chicago, but they did with a victory. It went overtime. I just wonder if it's just too much to ask them to do this against these 3 teams, the Panthers, who were playing better football than people realize. I think I think the Bears had every opportunity to win that game and couldn't get it done. And I think the Seahawks are, like you're basically insinuating, the best team and the favorite. Part of me hopes that because they've been so battle tested, that will help the Rams on Sunday because they've come through this and they've won games and they've probably gained some confidence. They have a veteran in Stafford. Uh, may have lost Cooper Cup, but Nakua, this guy's phenomenal.
Yeah, he's just a playmaker, man. I mean, he impresses every week. It's like you think he's down, and then he comes out and just shows you, no, I still got it. But and then Stafford, he's Stafford. Been compared in early years in the NFL to John Elway. He's got a cannon for an arm. He's matured tremendously in the league, and his decision making is just awesome. You know, I just overall like the guy. You know, I wished he would have had better success while he was at UGA, um, but he's just a stand up character and tough as nails. You know, and so I think he's going to give it everything he's got. That whole team will. I just don't know if they can outlast them. You know, for 4 quarters. You know, I think the 3 point spread is probably a good number in this game. Um, I hope it's a good number. You know, I mean, because I just feel like that the Seahawks are really, really strong. And if they can somehow another muster up and eke out another win for the Rams, I mean, I would be ecstatic, you know, aside from going down to stormy.
But when you see this Seahawks defense, and by the way, the 12th man brings on this whole other element when you have to play there. But when you see this Seahawks defense, are they as visually as impressive as that one that Pete Carroll had when they just annihilated the Broncos? The very first play of the game was a safety in that Super Bowl up in New York. They remind me of them. I don't know if they're that good. Well, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that looking at it collectively during a game that I'm just like, wow. You know, I don't know if they have that wow factor that you've seen in some defenses and prior to them. But what they're doing is the schemes they're running, and they're just communicate well, and everybody's disciplined, and they do their job right. I mean, and that's effective. You know, at the end of the day, it's effective. You know, it's like, do I really see the wow factor? No. But when you put that an effective defense out there that does their job and gets off the field on third downs when they're supposed to, and then you come out with an offense that's putting up points, it's hard to beat,
Yeah,
you know?
it's a good point. You don't have to have a Richard Sherman or a Cam Chancellor if you're just doing your job. If you don't make mistakes, you don't, you minimize penalties, especially in big situations. I mean, look how bad Miami played a great game against Indiana in the national championship, and I had Fred and I were the only two that had Miami, but they really hurt themselves with untimely penalties in the first half. The drive that took the game from 3-0 to 10-0 with the touchdown, especially. But the Seahawks don't seem to make that mistakes and all. Like they're not going to beat themselves, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was getting at. That discipline, you know, the discipline on the defensive side of the ball, and everybody playing their gap responsibilities and their coverages and stuff. You know, that's they're just getting it done. You know, we see that. I've seen it in the youth level too. We've gone up, my son and our Pop Warner teams and stuff. We've ended up in championship games one game away from going to Disney World for the Pop Warner stuff. And the team we were up against, they look like clones. The whole team, they all look just alike, you know. And by God, I don't care how much misdirection, fakes you tried to do. Those kids were so disciplined. They played their spots, and we couldn't do nothing with them, you know.
By the way, you mentioned your son. Let me relay a happy birthday to the twins. I believe that was just a few days ago before we picked the other game. How was that celebration? Was that nice?
Well, it wasn't much of a celebration. I mean, my daughter, his twin sister, was up in Athens with our oldest, so she went up there to hang out with her. He was off with buddies duck hunting and goofing off, you know. So,
But they're
I
older.
mean,
I should say, I don't want people thinking they're like 9 or anything like that. They are older now.
right.
So
Yeah, it
17
was
or
their
18,
18th
right? Yeah.
birthday. 18th
Yeah.
birthday.
Yeah.
So, we're almost empty nesters, you know.
It gotta make you feel good though that as far as your daughter wants to be with your daughter that's up in Athens, like but that's kind of a cool thing, and that it says a lot about the one that lives in Athens is like welcoming to bring, a little sister up to hang out too.
That's right. And now the the one caveat to that is, as we asked, is like, you don't want your brother to go with you, so y'all are twins celebrating the birthday, and she just gives us this look like, no, we don't want him with us.
He probably had a fine time hunting though.
That's right. Well, he's got buddies up there too. Our neighbor that he basically grew up with is 2 years older than him. He lives in Athens and goes to UNG, transferring in the fall to Georgia. So he goes up there with them every once in a while on his own. You know,
Yeah.
but
Um, what Athens reminds me, and I will just share this, when I think about NFC championship games, I think a good bit about the Cowboys NFC Championship games when I was really young, when Tom Landry was the head coach. And in the beginning, Roger Staubach was the quarterback, and later Danny White. And I remember losses to the Eagles and the Redskins really bothering me as I was pulling for the Cowboys. But probably the most memorable one I had was when I lived in Athens myself, and the Falcons beat the Minnesota Vikings, and
mm.
it shocked so many people. The Falcons were like 12 and a half point underdogs. Tell us where you were and how you must have felt being a lifelong Falcons fan and seeing that dream of them go to the Super Bowl.
it was it was a good day, right? I was in Fort Collins, Colorado, right? I
Okay.
was living there at the time. Actually, a coworker of mine was from Minnesota, so he was a diehard Viking. So we were together that day, and he was terribly upset, and I was having a great time. You know, now it came back to bite me in the Super Bowl. Because of course
They
everybody out
played
there is Broncos,
they
right?
played Denver. Yeah.
And this was back with
Jamal Anderson, maybe?
Jamal
Okay.
Anderson,
Yeah.
yeah, started the Dirty Bird, right? The
Hmm.
celebration dance in the end zone. So I was flapping my gums a little bit to all the Broncos that I knew, talking about the Falcons are going to teach the Broncos the dirty bird and all of this, and then so I'm at a Super Bowl party with all those guys, and then Terrell Davis, former Georgia Bulldog, just runs all over the Falcons, and then and Elway, of course, picks them apart, and they just destroyed us. And I go home with my tail tucked between my legs. And it was not satisfying. You know.
Tim Dwight runs a kickoff back in that Super Bowl. Am I right about that?
I
Yeah.
think so. Yep.
And it's most notable for the network, whatever is broadcasting, because of a commercial really missed a touchdown catch for Rod Smith of the Broncos as they're coming back on air. He's running down the field with the ball because the network was either that there was a problem with communication on the field and they let play begin, or the network, didn't get it back in time. But I remember they come back from commercial. Every we see a Bronco running for the end zone, we're like, "Well, what is that?" Like so. That was a glitch. Everybody makes mistakes. That just goes to show you, even the major network people make mistakes. All right, let's pick this AFC Championship game. I will tell you that you and I are on different sides, and this is your five stars. It's the Patriots minus 5.5, and Stormy is his 5 star. Patriots minus 5.5. It's Fred's 5 star minus 5.5. And Danny is with me with the 5 star. We're the two on the Broncos. The other four are on the Patriots. The Patriots are favored by 5.5. And man, did they make a CJ Stroud have a rough day and just the constant pressure that they got on him, eventually forcing 4 interceptions. I'll take up CJ. Not all of those interceptions were his fault, but I worry for the former Auburn quarterback, Jarrett Stidham, who's not real mobile. If
Mhm.
it is so much pressure on the Broncos offensive line to give him time. I do believe in that kid's ability to throw the ball. Even if he hasn't played all year, I still believe I don't think he's forgot how to throw the football. That's gonna be the question for me. Can the Broncos offensive line, protect him? But 5.5 points, this is a good many points, and I just take the home team there, getting the points, and hope Stidham can have the kind of connection with Cortland Sutton that Bo Nix can have. But you like New England here. You like the Patriot way right here.
Well, I do simply because of Bo Nix going down, and Stidham, like you said, former Auburn quarterback, he hadn't made a start since 2023. It doesn't mean he hasn't been at practice and throwing footballs and going through the motions and all that stuff, but he hasn't been gained speed since 2023. He hasn't, as far as I know, he hadn't touched the field this year, right?
Man,
Um, and so that's a high pressure situation to come into. Championship game. It's your first start. You know, do they have do they have the rhythm? Do they have the cohesiveness with his receivers and that type of stuff? I mean, I have no doubt the offensive line is going to do their job just like they were for Knicks. But
But
And
he's
the
a lot more
Broncos,
elusive. His ability to evade the rush, Nick's, is a lot better than Stidham's.
yeah, he was able to make plays outside the pocket, and still now Stidham, if he's smart with the football, even he's not as mobile, but he sees that pressure coming. He's not going to evade it, but he does have the head on his shoulders to get rid of it and throw it away if necessary, not take sacks and hits when he doesn't have to. Um, and Mile High Stadium, it's a different place. There's a lot to do. That altitude is different, and if you're not acclimated to it, you saw that with the Bills. They were kind of huffing and puffing come the third, fourth quarter, needing taking timeouts just for breathers, not necessarily as game strategy. Um, so the Broncos have a very good chance here. The only edge, if the Broncos defense can get pressure on May, like Houston did. What he fumbled how many times? Four times, three times back there with the ball getting knocked out of his hand. And I think he lost a couple of them. If they can do that, the Broncos have a very good shot at winning this game. Home field advantage, the altitude, all of that. They got a pretty good run game too. But I just give the edge to the Patriots just because of how Drake May has been playing, the pressure they were getting on CJ Stroud, that defense, and it's sad. I hate it, but Nick's going down. That hurts them, you know.
His last year, his junior year at Auburn, he was hurt and did not get to play against Alabama in the Auburn Alabama game. He quarterbacked them to a victory his freshman year, and TJ Finley, who's played at seven different schools in 7 years, had to quarterback Auburn that day. Auburn actually led 10-0 in late third and 10-3 and would have won the game if Tank Bigsby is not forced out of bounds with a little over a minute to go trying to get to a first down marker because Bama was out of timeouts and they drove down and they scored a touchdown in the final seconds. They went 90 something yards and then went to four overtimes. But I just happen to feel Bo would have, put Auburn over the top there and would have won that game had he not been hurt that day. And I say that because I don't want to like say that that's going to be what causes them, but that's certainly a lot of people have that opinion. I will say this: Denver's defense is good, but really all four of these teams that have advanced this weekend have outstanding defenses.
Yeah, they do. I mean, that's as the old adage, defense wins championships, right? Um, the Georgia Bulldogs proved that back to back with Stetson Bennett. I mean, Stetson was a playmaker with his feet and could throw the football too, but I really feel like those two Georgia teams, it was their elite defenses that got them to those championship games and ultimately the winners.
Although it
So
didn't hurt to have a 26-year-old playing quarterback on that final drive against the Buckeyes on New
yeah,
Year's
no
Eve
kidding.
when they
Yeah,
went down
well,
the field. I mean, he was not a game. Stetson Bennett was a good college quarterback, and
well,
I hate that people call him like game manager or something like that because that kid was a winner.
yeah. Well, do you think Signetti took note from that? With his average of 24-year-old players across the board, proving, showing the rest of the country the new blueprint, how to win in
I,
college football.
I think it's the
You
way to
know,
go now. Michigan 2 years ago had a real veteran team. Ohio State last year had a lot of 21, 22-year-old players. I think that's the way to go now.
Yeah, I mean, that's why Dabo has struggled so much, is him not using the portal to his advantage and the NIL and all that kind of stuff. Still trying to stick to the old school guns of bring them in and develop them, which
That's right.
there's something to be said for that too. But you can do a mix, right? I mean, immediate gratification, I think you got to utilize the portal because you get to see a body of work of what they've accomplished in other programs, and you can physically see what those guys are doing and
Right.
whether they're a fit for your program. You know, whereas the high school kids, yes, they're doing really well, but are they going to do the work necessary? Are they going to perform at this next level? That's always a question, right? Um, and so the portal, I mean, as the wild wild west it is, I still think it's the way to go right now. You know.
Well, let me run down everybody's picks before we sign off. I'm 36 and 28 overall, 12 and 6 with my five stars. I'm going to give you one soccer play so we can hear the whistle and the crowd reaction and all that. I love when Jake does that. Over 2.5 goals between Aston Villa and Newcastle United. I believe that game is on Sunday. My 5 star, my only selection is the Denver Broncos plus 5.5. Danny is 86 and 86. He's 500. He unfortunately is 7 and 11 with his 5 stars. He goes with the Seahawks -3, and his 5 star is the Denver Broncos plus 5.5. John is 85 and 87, 10 and 8 with the 5 stars. He's got the Patriots -5.5. His 5 star is the Seahawks -3. Fred, coming off that 5-0 week, is 87 and 85, 9 and 9 with his 5 stars. His 5 stars, the Patriots -5.5. He also likes the Seahawks -3. Stormy, 79 and 93. 10 and 8 with his 5 stars. His 5 stars, the Patriots -5.5. He's also got the Rams +3. Our guest today, Kevin, 79 and 93, but 8 and 10 in those 5 stars. He's got the Patriots -5.5 and the Seahawks -3. I got about 40 seconds. Kevin, final thoughts today from you?
I enjoyed it, man. It's always good to talk to you. Good to see you guys. I My heart says go Rams, but to beat Stormy, I'm pulling for the Hawks. Um, and yeah, and what a great game on Monday night. You know, Miami played their hearts out. I think they got off to a slow start, but like I said prior, I think Signetti showed everybody in the country the blueprint how to win a championship. You know.
Mendoza had that moment where he gets that touchdown. If it was a regular season game, we would have called that his Heisman moment. Thing about him is he kept playing great football even after he won the Heisman. I was so impressed during the college football playoffs by Miami, specifically the defensive line. They were way more physical than Ohio State was prepared for. And then Mark Fletcher carrying the ball, about how great of a running back he is, just picking up 3, 4, 5 yards, doing a lot of dirty work. Out of time, Kevin. I appreciate you jumping in here for me today, though.
Yes, sir. We enjoyed it.
All right. For Kevin White and for Jake Barton, I'm Tony Jones. We'll see you next time right here on Talking with Tony.